don't say yes to everything. The caveat being saying, starting with maybe, but don't take on everything. If your winning percentage is over 90%, you're doing something wrong. You're leaving money on the table.
Welcome to Driving Growth, the go-to-market podcast for traditional B2B businesses that are looking to build systems and create predictable revenue growth. In short, turning their company into a revenue factory. I'm your host, Steve Whittington, president of Roadmap, and a believer in one simple truth. Sustainable growth is not an accident, it's engineered, and my company Roadmap is a builder of go-to-market systems. On today's show, David Koss, president of HunterWire, third generation operator of HunterWire. He started working as a young teenager on the shop floor. He's worked through every aspect of the business. And in today's episode, what you're going to hear is how he's taken all that customer-centric thinking that has been essentially bred into him generationally, and he's applied it as a scalable lever to grow and to differentiate and to create a unique value proposition for his company. Okay. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I've been excited to bring you on here and following you on social for months and months and months. I've watched how you've grown up in the business, third generation leadership at HunterWire. What has been the most defining moment in your evolution from a team member, sweeping floors, working some of the equipment, to president? And then how have you managed, I guess, respected the legacy as you've moved things towards modernization? So kind of two things to unpack there. So have fun with it.
Certainly, yeah. Well, probably the most eye-opening or memorable part of that whole journey was the day after I, officially bought my father out, and I'm standing in the office at like 7 o'clock in the evening, just finishing up some things and walking around, shoulders high, chest out, realizing that, this is now all mine. And then also realizing that, it's all mine, and oh crap, everybody is looking to me now. I used to be, I was a number two or a VP for a very long time. A decision maker, but more in a support role. And I found that that's where I was for sure the most comfortable. But now I am the big kahuna, the man in charge, and the successes and the failures fall at my feet. The successes belong to my team, the failures belong to me. So that was certainly one of those experiences that resonates with me. I had the benefit of working alongside my grandfather, who was the consummate entrepreneur. Pie in the sky, everything was an opportunity. Look at this, let's try that. Hey, what's over there? Brain going in a million different directions all at the same time. And with my father, who was a very traditional manager and I guess maybe more of a cautious approach to business, because he was there to manage the details and make sure things actually worked. So respecting legacy is one of those interesting things, because there's two very different personalities that I feel that I need to respect when I'm doing things. I need to be excited and aggressive and interested, but also cautious and data driven at the same time. I look at it with two lenses if I'm looking at big decisions or big ideas. I always look at it with those two specific lenses, which are polar opposites. I wouldn't necessarily say that I land in the middle, but those are definitely two influences that keep me grounded.
So thinking on that, going on that, manufacturing, you just talked about, you have some ideas, and then it can be slow to change. And you talked about how the mistakes land at your feet. So how has your approach been to growth for HunterWire? How has that evolved since you've taken over and now responsible for the business?
Yeah, well, so our growth journey or our growth plans sometimes are a little fluid, but especially in the economic climate that we find ourselves in now. It's certainly a
Sure.
lot less straightforward in identifying, target companies, target markets, even target geographic areas.
Hmm.
It's a lot of it comes at you from out of nowhere, and I would say the buy Canadian sentiment has driven our growth a lot more than our desire to grow in certain markets. Or there's this one customer that we always wanted to deal with. That's kind of off the table right now, and it's a lot of stuff that is coming our way just from outside influences. That being
Right.
said, though, we definitely do ground our growth decisions on a couple of basic principles, and one of them for sure is the hedgehog principle. From that book, Good to Great. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
Stick to what you're good at, and maybe not don't stray from it, but surround yourself with opportunities that stick to your core competencies. So that is historically how we've looked at growth when we've been trying to drive it ourselves. Where we've been identifying, we're really good with this one customer. Who are their competitors? Who's also in that market? Who supports them? Who do they support? Are they someone that we can reach out to start working with as well and try to grow vertically with them, or organically with that existing customer? What else are they doing? That type of thing. Organic growth has historically been a very large part of what we've done.
So first things happening. Obviously, there's been some market headwinds, economic headwinds. However, there's been some benefits that have occurred for you as a result of that, and I've heard that from various different sectors that there's been pluses and minuses with what's currently going on. And what I like to hear is that from good to great, focusing on what you do best. That's also knowing your niche, right? This is who we serve. This is what we do. We understand what their problem is. This is our process for solving it, and here's the benefits they get from working from us, right? So yeah, lots of good stuff there. And that being said, this kind of leads into my next question that I have is looking at like how you actually go about producing revenue and your services. You just told me that you don't say yes to everything.
One of our mantras is that you cannot back away from no.
Hmm.
So if someone reaches out to you initially, the first thing we don't say is no, because you
Okay.
cannot back
Okay.
away from that. One of the things that my grandfather taught me is that everything is an opportunity. Might not be the right opportunity, but it's an opportunity, and you need to look at it as such. So, if someone comes to us with an opportunity, we'll never say no to start with.
Okay.
Unless they're saying, "Oh, do can do plastic injection molding too?" It's like, no, we don't do that. I'd like to, but no, we're not going to do that. But uh, you never know just looking at a drawing or at a what I would even call a cold call. A purchasing department or a VP of purchasing, or someone just calls you out of the blue. They're cold calling you as well,
Right.
to see if there's a fit. You never know in that first touch who that customer might be or who might be behind them. Small orders can turn into very large opportunities if you just give them a chance.
We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I wanted to take this chance to tell you about a new initiative at Roadmap. We have launched a go-to-market acceleration fund, and what we are doing is research with organizations to rank them with their go-to-market maturity. Now, here's the fun part, is that 5 organizations are going to be eligible for a $5,000 in funding to help them grow. For more information and to apply, go to weareroadmap.com/go-to-market acceleration fund. Now, let's get back to the show. I look at revenue growth not as like a mystery, but math. And when you look at your sales and operations systems and, looking at the accounts that you have and stuff like that, do you think that you're now at a repeatable system, or is it still based on some individual efforts and instinct? Like where do you think you've evolved with how you're actually driving growth for your organization?
I would say that we are well down our journey of creating a repeatable system. What we are selling for the most part is solutions. Even though we're a manufacturer, generally speaking, our approach is that we're selling solutions, and we value relationships. We're looking for long-term relationships where we can grow with companies and create relationships that can go through generations. Some of our
Mhm.
longest customers that we've had, we're not dealing with the same people anymore. But because of the strength of those relationships that we've developed, they have handed that on to their replacements and introduced us. And we've just, you start on the ground floor again with building that relationship, but you already have that level of trust, because it can take a year to 2 years to onboard a new client. We need to start building that next relationship so that it's an easier process, and that we're ready when they're ready, and that they're to some extent they're also ready when we're ready. So it's a lot more future planning, for growth potential, and then stuff comes at you out of the blue that can derail your whole plan.
Right. And what I'm hearing is really heavy emphasis on basically account based like forecasting. You're working with these accounts, developing deep relationships, deep understanding of their needs. That gets into what I wanted to talk about. A lot of manufacturers struggle with that value prop, struggle with differentiation, and they'll talk about features and whatever, but they actually don't have the brand, that unique value prop sort of layered in. Now, you folks have been doing a pretty good job of that. So tell me what Hunter Wire's value proposition is and how you make sure that message translates into the sales cycle, which then gets down to the operational floor and then cycles back up into the message you put out into the market.
Right. Right. Well, we run a fairly lean front office. So, the people in charge of revenue or in charge of sales are also very much in charge of fulfilling those promises. So,
Sure. Yeah.
it's that circle is very, very close. Hunter Wire's value proposition is solutions and relationships, and the best way to for our customers and our clients to see that is through our actions, through our deliveries, through us hopping in a truck with a trailer and delivering product on a Friday night at 11 o'clock at night because their weekend shift is going to be without, or
Right.
whatever it happens to be. Our some of our product lines, we only have one line that's a repeat line, and that is deliveries for the most part are driven by our customers. They always say, "When can we get this?" And our answer is always, "When do you need it for?" So that is a Hunter Wire's value proposition. Anybody manufacturing is manufacturing. There's lots of capable manufacturers out there, but even within our market sector in Manitoba here, and into Minnesota and a little bit of Ontario and even into as far as Alberta, a lot of our competitors um, do not will not run overtime. Won't run second shifts, won't run weekends, won't do deliveries, unless it's for a price. And we will. We're always willing to do that. We're customer driven. We're not, looking at what's in it for me. We're looking at how do we maintain and build this relationship with you? Well, what do you need, and how can we make that happen? And over time, sometimes it's immediate. When our best some of our best opportunities have been when our competitors have failed to deliver, and we're there ready to pick
Right.
up that slack.
Yeah. So you really, your value prop in short is customer driven. You said those two words that really sums it up succinctly.
Mm.
And
And it's not a catchphrase. It is who we are.
yeah, no, you then went on about all the things that you do that makes it customer driven, delivering on weekends and 11 o'clock Friday night, that sort of stuff, right? So very, very customer centric, meeting their needs. And that is something to basically surround all your messaging, everything that you do, get that out in the marketplace. And then, obviously you have word of mouth, customers talking about what it is that you do, how you pulled them out of, a hard spot where we were missing something. They came in and they filled it. You know, you can't pay for that kind of word of mouth marketing. Quickly to end, I always try to end with this with folks. Some quick do's and don'ts. So if you've got something, hey, if you're in manufacturing, if you're a leader, if you're trying to grow your business, here's some quick do's, here's some quick don'ts. Just spit them off, and then we'll wrap up.
So yeah, as far as dues, number one thing I always say is pay yourself first.
Hmm.
Don't wait for the leftovers. Pay yourself first. Do stick to or realize what got you where you are, and stick to that or expand on that. Um, do treat everyone around you with respect. Surround yourself with people that are better at their jobs than you are, and give them the freedom and the autonomy to make decisions. Otherwise, you might as well do it all yourself, and you're wasting payroll.
Sure.
Um,
You have any don'ts?
and you don't. Um, don't say don't say yes to everything. The
Hmm.
caveat being saying, starting with maybe, but don't take on everything. If your winning percentage is over 90%, you're doing something wrong. You're leaving money on the table.
Right.
You
Yeah.
need to lose some. The market will tell you where you should be, and losing some is okay. Um, do involve your spouse in your decisions and your communications. I made that mistake a long time ago when I was when we were having struggles. I tried to protect her, and then that was the wrong thing. Don't protect your spouse from the ugly truth of the business cycle that you're going to go through, because
Sure.
successful
Yeah.
businesses as well will have hard times, and they will have great times. So don't hide that from your spouse or from your family or from whoever your support network is. Don't over leverage yourself. So some of the guideposts that I set up very early on with my banks was and every manufacturer has operating lines and some equipment lines or some level of debt anyways. But I gave them guideposts, and I said, this is what I need, this is what I want. Do not give me any more. And we've achieved growth year over year over year over year, and every time we do a review, then our bankers are telling us, oh, your ratios are great, we could extend this to that, blah blah. And I come back to those guideposts that don't offer that. Don't change these guideposts, because it's too easy to get in over your head. And when things are great, you can service that debt, no problem. But when things get tight, suddenly you can't. And really, what was that debt for? You just spent it on a wish list instead of a need list.
Right. Great list. Really, thanks for like wrapping up that way and giving a whole bunch of founder advice and that sort of stuff. Where can people find about you more if they want to follow your journey? What's the best place to see the behind the scenes stuff?
Well, I'm on probably the more professional side is on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn both personally, and our Hunter Wire page is also does weekly updates as to where we're at. I'm also on Instagram. I think that's semi-professional, but a little bit goofier sometimes, but still family friendly. So,
Hmm.
so you can follow me on both of those. So,
Okay, well, that's great. And thank you so much for being on Driving Growth and sharing your journey.
well, thank you for having me. It's been enjoyable.
Hunter Wire is a great company based in family values, 3 generations strong, and continuing to go strong and make its mark in its marketplace and growing and thriving. When I reflect upon stuff that David said, I really like how he has closed the loop from the delivery floor, the factory floor, all the way back into the market message and the types of customers that they are pursuing and going after. So he's really closed that revenue loop. Now he says he has a small front office team, so it makes it easier. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages that when he scales. But the lesson here for all of us is to make sure that there is that complete loop in your organization so that you don't have that misalignment between sales, marketing, operation, delivery, and customer expectations. He has kept that loop really, really tight, and it can continue to iterate and iterate and iterate, which is driving growth in his business. If you like what you've heard, go to weareroadmap.com davidkoss.com/podcast to download the Revenue Factory Toolkit, in which you will receive mathematical models and a framework for building your go-to-market system. Also, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, with new episodes dropping the first and the third Wednesday of every month. I'm Steve Whittington. Thanks for listening. Keep building your revenue factory one brick at a time.